Step softly now, beyond the red curtain that swings slightly on its hinges. The smell of waxed wood mingles with faint perfume, a scent meant to soften the sharp edges of reality. Here, in the Silver Queen, every sound is hushed, deliberate, almost sacred in its quietness. Footsteps are muffled on creaking floorboards, voices lowered to intimate whispers, laughter restrained, careful. Even the piano in the corner plays not with raucous cheer but with delicate, measured notes that float and settle like dust in the sunbeams that struggle through the curtained windows. Look around slowly. The walls, painted in deep, warm hues, are worn and patched. Faded wallpaper curls at the edges, holding memories of women who leaned against it in tired thought, who traced its patterns with nervous fingers while waiting for a client's knock, while waiting for their own heart to settle from a night spent performing the delicate theater of desire. The furniture bears the history of countless hands, polished not by care but by repeated use. Chairs that creak under weight, tables scarred with ink from ledgers and spilled wine, beds pressed flat by bodies seeking sleep between labor, between longing, between escape. And here, the women move, not in hurried panic, not in forced glamour, but in rhythm with the house itself. Each step, each gesture, is a dance learned over years, a choreography of survival. Some straighten a corset, tug a lace collar into place, smooth a shadow of rouge across their cheeks. Others crouch, cleaning a floorboard with the care of ritual, sweeping away dust that might otherwise betray the house's worn secrets. The Madame, Rosie, moves like a guardian spirit, observing quietly, correcting a posture, murmuring a word of caution or encouragement, ensuring that both dignity and business remain intact. The beds, 3 in each room, sometimes 6 women to a single room, are tiny islands of warmth and fatigue. Sheets are frayed, blankets patched from scraps, pillows lumpy from long use. Yet, within these cramped spaces, intimacy exists not just in commerce but in companionship. A whisper shared about the way to mix a powder for relief, a soft laugh at a joke told under breath, a hand resting lightly on a shoulder to comfort a trembling body or soul. Here, community forms not because the world allows it, but because it is demanded by necessity. These women have no recourse outside these walls. Their only power lies in each other. Outside, the town moves in its relentless rhythm. Miners return from the dark veins below, their faces streaked with grime, their eyes tired, their pockets sometimes heavy, sometimes empty. The city breathes a chaos that presses in from all sides. But inside the Silver Queen, a different order exists, fragile, delicate, sustained by shared knowledge, careful routines, and the invisible rules of survival. Hygiene, though rudimentary, is enforced. Hand-washing, washing of linens, care taken to minimize disease, to maintain health as much for survival as for business. It is here that labor meets necessity, and necessity is an unyielding teacher. Observe now the small details. A tray of glasses lined with water, a small vial of laudanum tucked discreetly behind a mirror, a needle and thread beside a pillow. Each object is chosen, placed, preserved for utility and quiet comfort. Every movement has purpose. Every gesture is layered with meaning. Even in what seems mundane, a network of survival unfolds. Who shares which knowledge, who watches over whom during a client's visit, who alerts another to danger, who covers for another in sickness or weakness. These acts of care are invisible to the outside world, yet they are the foundation upon which life inside the Silver Queen rests. And so, the night deepens. Shadows lengthen, folding corners of rooms into velvet darkness. The women settle into their small spaces, curling bodies and dreams alike into tight, protective shapes. Some take opium, others sip whiskey, others simply lie awake, listening to the heartbeat of the house, the muted piano, the soft shuffle of feet across worn wood. Sleep is not guaranteed, yet the rhythm of the house carries them, a lullaby of endurance, a meditation on survival, a gentle testament to lives lived fully even in limitation. In this house, time passes differently. Minutes stretch with a patient slowness. Every sound, every smell, every movement carries weight. And in the stillness between, one can hear the deeper truths, the laughter shared in quiet rooms, the the tears wiped silently, the whispered dreams of escape or of small businesses, the unspoken bonds that give life meaning. Here, in this delicate ecosystem, human ingenuity, resilience, and tenderness coexist with hardship, shaping a microcosm of survival that is at once harsh and profoundly human. As we settle into this rhythm, breathe slowly, let the cadence of the house carry you. Let your mind drift alongside theirs, through hallways lined with history, across beds pressed with exhaustion and care, past windows that reveal a town too busy to notice the quiet endurance within. The Silver Queen is alive in ways the streets above will never see, alive in the soft, meditative pulse of women sustaining one another, living and dreaming within their fragile sanctuary. And as the piano plays on, and the faint scent of perfume lingers, and shadows dance along the walls, we allow ourselves to move deeper into the night. Scene 3 carries us further inside, into the routines, the small rituals, the fragile networks that hold life together, even when the world outside would undo it in a moment. The night grows heavier within the Silver Queen, shadows deepening and lamplight casting a warm, steady glow over worn floors and polished surfaces. The rhythm of labor has continued for hours, punctuated by conversations, laughter, whispered cautions, and the subtle choreography of client interactions. Fatigue begins to press upon the women, settling in muscles, weighing on eyes, and threading its influence through the mind. Yet within this weariness lies the quiet art of endurance, the deliberate cultivation of composure in the face of exhaustion. Each woman navigates fatigue with practiced skill. Movements are measured, gestures precise, and posture deliberate, conserving energy while maintaining grace. The body communicates silently, adjusting subtly to balance effort and rest. Hands that once moved swiftly and lightly now pause for moments, eyes blink more slowly, yet the mind remains alert, guiding each action with calm determination. This interplay of body and mind forms the invisible rhythm of survival, a steady undercurrent beneath the visible demands of labor. Emotional strain accompanies physical exhaustion. The night carries with it the weight of anticipation, vigilance, and repeated negotiation, each encounter taxing both spirit and resilience. Moments of anxiety or apprehension arise, yet the women draw on inner reservoirs of focus and strength, reminding themselves of experience, skill, and the collective support that surrounds them. The house itself becomes a stabilizing force, its familiar rooms, routines, and rituals offering subtle reinforcement and grounding amidst the chaos of fatigue. Between client interactions, the women employ small acts of restoration. A slow sip of tea, a brief stretch, the inhalation of calming scents from herbal infusions, or a quiet whisper exchanged with a companion, each becomes a tool to preserve composure, to restore equilibrium, and to maintain both physical and emotional resilience. These restorative acts are not indulgences, they are essential mechanisms, carefully integrated into the rhythm of the night. Madame Rosie's presence is a stabilizing force in these hours. Her calm gaze, measured steps, and gentle reminders offer reassurance, ensuring that no woman bears the weight of exhaustion alone. She monitors signs of strain, provides subtle guidance, and, when necessary, intervenes discreetly to redistribute tasks or allow brief reprieve. Her leadership transforms what might otherwise be overwhelming into a structured, manageable continuum of labor, vigilance, and recovery. The women also draw strength from one another. A supportive touch on a shoulder, a knowing glance, or a shared word of encouragement reinforces resilience. In these quiet, almost imperceptible interactions, solidarity emerges as a sustaining force, allowing each individual to extend beyond personal limits while remaining anchored in collective strength. Fatigue becomes a shared experience, softened by empathy, mutual understanding, and the quiet confidence that no challenge must be faced in isolation. Within this meditative framework, endurance is not passive. It is an active engagement with the self, the environment, and the network of women who inhabit the house. Each decision, to pace movement, to breathe deeply, to pause briefly, reinforces control and agency. Composure becomes an art form, cultivated through repetition, observation, and the subtle interplay between self-awareness and communal support. As midnight stretches toward the early hours, The Silver Queen continues to hum with measured energy. Fatigue lingers, yet it is tempered by focus, strategy, and solidarity. The women move with grace, their minds alert even as bodies weary, sustaining rhythm, vigilance, and professionalism through the night's relentless demands. In this delicate balance between exhaustion and composure, one witnesses the quiet mastery of survival, the intricate art of endurance, and the profound resilience that defines life within these walls. Here, in the soft lamplight and hushed corridors, the night becomes a canvas for courage, intelligence, and the steady assertion of agency. Each woman navigates her own limits, preserves dignity, and maintains control, demonstrating that even amid fatigue and emotional strain, resilience is not only possible, but perfected through discipline, mindfulness, and shared human connection. The night deepens further, folding Virginia City beneath a dense, quiet canopy of stars. The streets are silent, only a faint wind drifting over the wooden sidewalks, carrying dust from the hills and the faint scent of distant fires. Within the Silver Queen, the house is alive with the soft cadence of midnight labor, footsteps lightly pressing against polished floors, the gentle rustle of garments, whispers exchanged, and the subtle rhythm of interactions that demand both care and careful detachment. In these hours, the art of labor requires a delicate balance. Emotional detachment protects the spirit from fatigue, disappointment, and the recurring weight of expectation. Yet empathy must remain, carefully measured and thoughtfully expressed, to guide the interactions, soothe tensions, and ensure the fragile equilibrium between client and worker is maintained. The women move through this space with practiced grace, their awareness honed to read subtle cues, to anticipate discomfort, and to adjust both posture and tone to sustain harmony and safety. Each client presents a distinct challenge, a unique combination of desire, temperament, and expectation. The women navigate this diversity with quiet intelligence, modulating gestures, voice, and expression with precise calibration. Eyes convey attentiveness, hands move with deliberate care, and voices rise and fall in gentle cadence, a controlled rhythm that reassures, guides, and maintains subtle authority. Here, skill is not only physical, it is an orchestration of psychological insight, intuition, and emotional management executed with near imperceptible precision. Madame Rosie observes from her place of quiet authority, her presence a stabilizing anchor. She offers guidance without intrusion, a soft word, a gentle signal, a subtle correction. Her experience ensures that empathy does not compromise detachment, that understanding does not undermine vigilance, and that the women under her care maintain both agency and control. Under her watchful eye, labor becomes an exercise in balance, between human connection and protective distance, between responsiveness and self-preservation. Within the rooms, gestures are purposeful. Hands that touch, voices that murmur, and eyes that meet are orchestrated to convey warmth without vulnerability, attentiveness without surrender. The women navigate emotional landscapes with the precision of a seasoned conductor, harmonizing interactions that are, in truth, complex performances of resilience, insight, and care. Every subtle adjustment, a pause, a nod, a softened word, sustains equilibrium and maintains control over the intangible currents of influence that flow through each encounter. Even in the quietest moments, vigilance persists. Observing posture, noting tone, reading micro-expressions, these skills are applied continuously, ensuring that boundaries are preserved, safety is maintained, and dignity is upheld. The labor of the night is not merely transactional. It is an exercise in sustained mindfulness, strategic empathy, and quiet authority. Each woman, fully present in mind and body, becomes both guardian and facilitator, preserving the delicate balance required for survival and professional integrity. Between encounters, brief pauses allow reflection and recalibration. A deep inhalation, a subtle stretch, the adjustment of a garment or hair. These small acts reinforce focus, conserve energy, and maintain emotional equilibrium. Peer support quietly fortifies resilience. A nod, a whispered observation, or a shared glance confirms that no one bears the complexity of the night alone. Emotional labor, often invisible to those outside, is acknowledged and supported within the sanctuary of the house. By the hour before dawn, the Silver Queen hums with a rhythm both serene and disciplined. Emotional detachment and empathetic engagement exist side by side, intertwined with skill, awareness, and the quiet intelligence that sustains the night. Here, in lamplight and shadow, labor is elevated to a practiced art, an intricate balance of human connection, psychological acuity, and enduring resilience. In these hours, the women exemplify a mastery of subtle power, navigating desire, risk, and expectation with a calm, measured grace. Through emotional discipline, attentive care, and the artful modulation of presence, they maintain control, preserve dignity, and sustain the rhythm of life within the Silver Queen, a testament to the intelligence, patience, and quiet courage that defines survival in the nocturnal world of the brothel. The city sleeps under a blanket of moonlight, its streets quiet and empty, shadows stretching across wooden sidewalks and shuttered storefronts. Inside the Silver Queen, a subtle shift pervades the house as the last clients of the late evening prepare to depart. Doors close softly, shoes scrape lightly against floors, and footsteps fade, leaving behind a hushed stillness that invites reflection, release, and decompression. In these moments, the women pause. Muscles unclench, breath slows, and the mind begins to unwind from the constant vigilance of interaction. The labor of the night, though ongoing, allows space for quiet processing, the gentle acknowledgement of emotions stirred, of challenges navigated, and of subtle triumphs achieved. It is a period of silent recognition, an intimate pause between the rhythms of labor, offering both respite and clarity. The rooms absorb a different energy as clients depart. Surfaces, touched and left behind, carry faint impressions of presence, and the air retains a lingering warmth. The women move deliberately, attending to cleaning, adjusting linens, and restoring order. Each movement is both practical and restorative, a ritual that transforms physical labor into emotional decompression. As they tidy, their minds trace the arc of the night. Encounters remembered, interactions assessed, boundaries reinforced, and strategies considered for the hours still to come. Silence becomes a companion. Conversations dwindle to whispers, laughter softens, and the gentle hum of the house persists in quiet continuity. In corners and alcoves, women sit with eyes closed or gaze out windows, observing the silver desert beyond. Reflections drift inward, thoughts of endurance, the navigation of power, the subtleties of human behavior, and the quiet victories of the night. Each reflection is an act of self-recognition, a mindful acknowledgement of experience, and a reinforcement of resilience. Peer support continues subtly. A gentle touch, a shared glance, or a quiet word of encouragement acknowledges the collective effort of survival. Emotional labor, often invisible, is validated through these small acts. The women remind one another of strength, fortitude, and the skill required to maintain both professional composure and personal dignity. In the shared quiet, trust and solidarity become palpable, a sustaining force that nourishes spirit and mind alike. Even as fatigue lingers, there is a quiet satisfaction in the knowledge of skill applied effectively. Difficult moments were navigated, boundaries maintained, and equilibrium preserved. The subtle mastery of interaction, vigilance, and empathy manifests in this pause as the women reclaim their space, their minds, and their sense of agency. The late-night lull offers a temporal shelter, a buffer between labor and rest, a space to recalibrate before the continuation of the nocturnal rhythm. In these hours, introspection blends with anticipation. Thoughts drift to small aspirations, strategies for the night ahead, and the enduring pursuit of stability and autonomy. Reflection is intertwined with mindfulness, an acknowledgement of the body's needs, an inventory of emotional states, and the quiet reinforcement of preparedness for challenges still to come. Each moment of silent contemplation reinforces resilience, fortifies resolve, and deepens the understanding of both self and circumstance. By the late-night hour, the Silver Queen breathes as one entity, alive, vigilant, and quietly harmonious. The departures of clients have transformed tension into calm, activity into rhythm, and labor into meditation. Here, in the soft lamplight and shadowed corners, Decompression is an art of both body and mind, allowing the women to process the past, stabilize the present, and anticipate the unfolding of the night with renewed strength. Through silent reflection, subtle rituals, and the shared presence of companions, the house maintains its equilibrium. Emotional release, mindfulness, and the gentle cadence of restoration cultivate resilience that carries forward into the hours still to come. The night, though demanding, is tempered by these interludes of quiet reflection, moments where survival, skill, and empathy intertwine to sustain life within the Silver Queen. The first hints of dawn begin to brush the horizon beyond Virginia City, painting the sky with muted streaks of rose and silver. Inside the Silver Queen, the house hums with a gentle shift in rhythm, the subtle transition from the quiet lull of the late night to the renewed energy demanded by early morning clients. Lamps flicker softly, furniture creaks lightly, and the faint scent of fresh linens mingles with the lingering aroma of herbal infusions. In these hours, preparation is both physical and mental. Women stretch carefully, easing muscles that have borne the weight of the night's labor, and they attend to personal grooming with meticulous attention. Each gesture, from smoothing hair to adjusting attire, is deliberate, ensuring presence, confidence, and readiness for the interactions that await. Preparation is ritualized, a blend of self-care and strategic focus, sustaining both dignity and professionalism. Mental readiness accompanies physical attention. Thoughts align with intention, the anticipation of clients, the nuances of interaction, the subtle dynamics of authority, empathy, and control. Each woman rehearses her own strategies in quiet contemplation, visualizing gestures, tones, and expressions, ensuring that every engagement will be approached with awareness and composure. This mental preparation is as crucial as the physical, creating a harmony between presence and performance that sustains resilience through the final stretch of the night. The arrival of early clients brings renewed activity, a new rhythm of footsteps, soft greetings, and measured introductions. Energy rises within the house, not frantic, but focused, deliberate, and controlled. Each encounter is met with a balance of attentiveness and detachment, empathy and vigilance, skill and subtle authority. The women navigate these interactions as if conducting a carefully orchestrated symphony, each movement and gesture deliberate, each response tailored to maintain both safety and composure. Peer observation continues to play a role. Quiet glances, brief nods, and subtle cues maintain a network of support that ensures both safety and efficiency. Women remind one another of strategies, observe shifts in demeanor, and provide silent affirmation. The shared experience of labor and expertise strengthens resilience, reinforcing the subtle but powerful bond that allows each woman to perform with confidence and calm. During these hours, the house functions as both workplace and sanctuary. The structure, routines, and rituals of the Silver Queen offer stability amid the fluidity of human behavior. Hygiene, cleanliness, and spatial organization are attended to with precision, ensuring that each client encounter unfolds within a space that supports both professionalism and safety. The environment itself becomes a partner in labor, a constant that reinforces composure and focus. Renewed energy is tempered with mindfulness. Movements are measured, breaths are intentional, and awareness remains heightened. Even amid early morning activity, the women maintain the delicate balance between emotional presence and protective detachment. Empathy is extended without surrender, attentiveness maintained without overexertion. Every interaction is an exercise in skillful navigation, the quiet mastery of presence, perception, and influence. By the early hours, the Silver Queen pulses with the rhythm of both labor and resilience. The night's lingering fatigue is softened by preparation, focus, and the quiet affirmation of shared experience. The women move with grace, intelligence, and subtle authority, sustaining their composure while meeting the demands of early morning clients. Here, in the soft glow of lamplight and the first touch of dawn, the house exemplifies the interplay of readiness, skill, and enduring strength, a sanctuary of both labor and quiet power. The night has stretched long over Virginia City, its streets bathed in silver moonlight and quiet stillness. Within the walls of the Silver Queen, the rhythm of labor slows slightly, not from lack of purpose but from the accumulated weight of hours lived fully, attentively, and with careful intent. This is the domain of the final hours, a time when energy must be measured, spirits preserved, and minds cultivated for both endurance and reflection as the transition toward dawn approaches. Each woman moves with deliberate pacing. Steps are lighter, gestures measured, and attention finely tuned. Fatigue hums in muscles and lingers in the eyes, yet the mind remains vigilant, balancing physical weariness with the requirement for precision and awareness. The art of sustaining energy in these final hours is subtle, a combination of posture, breath, small restorative actions, and the quiet coordination of body and spirit. Every motion is purposeful, every breath intentional, creating an internal rhythm that supports endurance without collapse. Conscious reflection accompanies movement. Women consider the unfolding night, interactions navigated, boundaries maintained, strategies applied with skill, and the quiet victories that affirm competence and resilience. These reflections are silent, meditative, and reinforcing. Each success, each observation, each subtle assertion of control becomes a touchstone, sustaining confidence as the night's demands continue. The final hours are a rehearsal of all that has been learned and practiced, a culmination of vigilance, empathy, and precision. Mental focus is sharpened for the approaching dawn. Even as the house's atmosphere begins to soften with anticipation of daylight, the women remain poised. They prepare for the slow transition from labor to reprieve, ensuring that the continuity of care, cleanliness, and composure is maintained until the final interactions conclude. Each action, whether a discreet adjustment of attire, a silent exchange with a companion, or a mindful breath, reinforces the readiness required to sustain grace and dignity in these concluding hours. The interplay of peer support is subtle yet vital. Quiet nods, fleeting smiles, or a whispered reminder of technique strengthens resolve and preserves focus. The collective intelligence of the house sustains each individual, forming an unspoken network that buffers fatigue, reinforces composure, and nurtures resilience. The final hours are a testament to the power of community within labor, where shared experience becomes both comfort and strategic resource. Moments of brief pause allow the women to restore mental and emotional balance. A sip of herbal tea, a soft inhale through closed eyes, a stretch to release tension. These are the micro-rituals that sustain both body and mind. Each act, though small, is amplified in significance, enabling endurance through the remaining hours and preparing for the eventual shift into dawn. These rituals become anchors, stabilizing the self against the subtle pull of exhaustion, stress, and cumulative strain. As the horizon begins to pale and the first hints of light touch the distant hills, the Silver Queen embodies a quiet harmony of movement, intention, and awareness. The night's intensity lingers in the spaces between lamplight and shadow, but the women have mastered its rhythm. Energy has been preserved, focus maintained, and dignity upheld through an intricate dance of attention, restraint, and empathy. In the final hours, the house becomes a sanctuary of sustained resilience. Here, amid measured steps, quiet reflection, and attentive care, the women demonstrate the art of enduring labor without surrender, balancing presence and detachment, empathy and authority. The approaching dawn is not a disruption but a natural continuation of the night's rhythm, a gentle acknowledgement of both effort completed and the promise of rest. The night approaches its conclusion, the Silver Queen bathed in the faint, gentle light of early pre-dawn, when the first hints of color barely brush the horizon. The city outside rests beneath a veil of calm, yet within the house, the rhythm has shifted from active labor to meticulous preparation, soft movements, and quiet restoration. These are the hours of transition, where care for the space and attention to detail become acts of mindfulness and reflection. The women move deliberately, each step measured to conserve the last reserves of energy while attending to essential tasks. Surfaces are straightened, linens smoothed, and the subtle scents of herbs and cleaning agents mingle with the lingering aroma of candles and lamp oil. Each action, though small, carries significance. Restoring order to the house mirrors the restoration of the mind and spirit after hours of labor, anchoring focus and cultivating calm. Cleaning becomes a meditative ritual. Brushes sweep over surfaces, hands fold linens with precision, and the quiet hum of tasks creates a gentle cadence throughout the rooms. In these movements, the women reconcile the intensity of the night with the stillness of the approaching morning. The physical act of restoration allows the mind to settle, encouraging reflection on the hours past, acknowledgement of endurance, and a subtle planning for the coming day. Preparation is not only physical but emotional. The women pause to gather their thoughts, smooth their attire, and adjust personal spaces for comfort. Eyes close briefly, breaths deepen, and there is a deliberate effort to release residual tension. Small gestures, a touch to the hairline, a careful arrangement of personal items, a brief glance toward a companion, reinforce a sense of personal agency, dignity, and readiness for the return of daylight. Madame Rosie moves among them with quiet attentiveness, ensuring that both the house and its inhabitants are ready to face the day. Her presence is a stabilizing force, guiding completion of tasks, offering subtle reassurance, and maintaining an atmosphere of calm efficiency. She models the careful blend of authority and empathy that has sustained the Silver Queen through countless nights, her oversight a gentle anchor in these final hours. The quiet before dawn also invites introspection. Thoughts drift to lessons learned, moments of success, and the subtle triumphs of interaction and endurance. Memories of shared laughter, whispered confidences, and discreet acts of support surface, reinforcing the communal bonds that have carried the women through the night. In this reflective space, emotional resilience and mindfulness intertwine, creating a buffer between the demands of labor and the promise of rest. Every action during these hours is intentional. The placement of objects, the careful attention to hygiene, and the maintenance of order become symbolic gestures, affirmations of agency, control, and professionalism. Even in the absence of clients, the house thrives as a space of discipline, care, and quiet mastery. The women, mindful of each movement, cultivate both stability and readiness, preparing for the day ahead while honoring the continuity of their nocturnal labor. As the first full light of dawn begins to illuminate the distant hills, the Silver Queen rests in perfect balance, tidy, calm, and poised. The quiet hours have nurtured both the body and spirit, allowing a gentle transition from night to morning. Here, in the soft lamplight fading into natural illumination, the women's dedication, mindfulness, and resilience are evident in every carefully arranged object, every measured movement, and every lingering whisper of shared understanding. The night's labor has concluded, yet its imprint remains, a testament to endurance, subtle skill, and the art of balancing care for self, others, and the space that sustains them. The quiet hours before dawn are not merely preparatory. They are a meditation on presence, discipline, and the enduring strength that defines life within the Silver Queen. The first pale rays of sunlight creep slowly over the hills surrounding Virginia City, painting the sky in soft hues of rose, gold, and silver. Within the Silver Queen, the house awakens gently, not with the bustling energy of the night, but with a calm, deliberate rhythm, a measured cadence of early morning routines that honor both the conclusion of nocturnal labor and the anticipation of the day ahead. Women move quietly through the house, attending to personal grooming, arranging their attire, and performing small rituals of self-care. Hair is brushed until it glistens faintly in the soft light, garments smoothed with gentle hands, and skin refreshed with cool water or carefully prepared herbal infusions. Each movement is infused with mindfulness, a deliberate acknowledgement of the body's needs, and a subtle preparation of mind and spirit for the unfolding day. The atmosphere is hushed yet alive with intention. Surfaces, furniture, and linens, recently restored during the quiet hours before dawn, now reflect the soft illumination of morning. The air is crisp with a subtle mingling of lingering candle smoke, herbal aromas, and the faint scent of the desert beyond. Every sensory detail contributes to a space that nurtures calm, focus, and the quiet restoration of energy, allowing the women to transition smoothly from night to day. Preparation extends beyond the physical. Mental focus is cultivated through brief periods of reflection, gentle breathing, and quiet contemplation. Thoughts drift to accomplishments from the night, lessons learned, and plans for the day. Emotional calibration occurs naturally. Tensions from the night's labor are acknowledged and released, while the mind attunes to subtle goals, interactions, and intentions for the hours ahead. This alignment of body, mind, and spirit sustains both resilience and composure. Madame Rosie moves among the women with practiced grace, overseeing the final touches of routine. Her presence is unobtrusive but grounding, offering guidance when needed and silent affirmation when gestures are correctly executed. She ensures that hygiene, attire, and spatial order meet both aesthetic and practical standards, fostering an environment where professionalism and personal dignity are intertwined seamlessly. The women engage in quiet exchanges of support. A nod, a soft smile, a whispered word. These small interactions sustain the communal bonds that have been nurtured through the night. Even as labor has concluded, the essence of connection persists, reminding each woman that her endurance, skill, and presence are both witnessed and valued. These moments of subtle affirmation reinforce self-confidence, enhance emotional stability, and create a shared sense of continuity within the household. As sunlight strengthens, the rooms take on a gentle warmth, soft shadows receding, and the desert light filtering through windows illuminating polished surfaces, smooth floors, and carefully arranged linens. The Silver Queen breathes in this light, radiating calm, order, and quiet resilience. Every small gesture of preparation, whether brushing hair, folding garments, or arranging personal spaces, becomes a meditation in presence, affirming the woman's agency, mastery, and grace. By fully embracing the first light, the women experience a restorative transition. The labor of the night is honored through thoughtful routines, the mind and body replenished through deliberate care, and the spirit fortified by shared understanding, subtle camaraderie, and the quiet mastery of their environment. Early morning within the Silver Queen is both a gentle celebration of survival and an invitation to face the day with clarity, calm, and enduring resilience. In this luminous, tranquil space, the interplay of personal care, reflection, and shared support underscores the profound intelligence and quiet strength that have sustained the women throughout the night. The day begins not with urgency, but with mindful grace, a continuation of the rhythm established through hours of vigilance, skill, and subtle mastery. The sun rises slowly over Virginia City, spilling gentle light across the quiet streets and the distant hills. Within the Silver Queen, the house pulses softly with anticipation. The early morning clients arrive with discreet footsteps, and the women, refreshed by ritual and reflection, prepare to meet them with renewed energy, calm composure, and practiced subtlety. The early hours demand careful attention. Each interaction requires awareness of mood, expectation, and unspoken desires. The women navigate these engagements with quiet intelligence, employing subtle negotiation to ensure comfort, clarity, and the balance of safety and satisfaction. Every gesture, the tilt of the head, the softness of the voice, the rhythm of steps, is intentional, calibrated to create trust and maintain professional authority. Energy is measured and sustained. The women draw on small restorative practices, a deep breath before greeting, a gentle adjustment of posture, or a brief grounding moment to center the mind. Mental clarity and emotional balance are cultivated through awareness, ensuring that fatigue from the night does not disrupt presence or composure. Even as the morning light strengthens, the house remains a sanctuary of focus, precision, and quiet resilience. Madame Rosie supervises with a calm, guiding presence. She observes subtle cues, offers whispered guidance, and ensures that each woman maintains both confidence and control. Her expertise allows the early morning labor to flow seamlessly, transforming potential tension into orchestrated interactions that are efficient, respectful, and attentive. The balance of empathy and detachment is maintained carefully, a delicate dance that sustains both emotional well-being and professional integrity. The women also communicate silently through glance, posture, and micro-movements. These unspoken signals reinforce safety, coordination, and mutual support, allowing each individual to navigate the morning engagements without isolation. In these shared gestures, trust and solidarity are quietly reaffirmed, preserving the collective strength that has carried the Silver Queen through countless nights. The rhythm of morning work is slower, more deliberate than the intensity of late-night labor. Each client encounter is approached with mindful presence, attentiveness, and subtle negotiation. Boundaries are respected, desires are navigated, and interactions unfold as a blend of empathy, skill, and authority. This careful balance ensures both satisfaction and the preservation of dignity for worker and client alike. As the sun climbs higher, casting light across polished floors and warm walls, the early hours of the day become a testament to adaptability and grace. The women embody endurance, intelligence, and composure, their movements precise, gestures deliberate, and interactions thoughtful. Even amid labor, there is an undercurrent of calm, a steadying force that underscores the house's rhythm and reinforces resilience. These morning interactions, though quieter and less intense than the nocturnal hours, are no less demanding. The mastery of subtle negotiation, emotional awareness, and physical presence is evident in each engagement. Energy is renewed through mindfulness, companionship, and the quiet satisfaction of professional skill exercised with grace and care. By mid-morning, the Silver Queen hums with controlled activity, the women fully present, poised, and prepared. The early client hours have been navigated with intelligence and composure, a seamless blend of empathy, authority, and subtle negotiation. In this space, resilience and skill converge, creating an environment where labor, dignity, and quiet mastery coexist in perfect balance. The morning sun climbs steadily over Virginia City, casting warm, gentle light into the rooms of the Silver Queen. The early clients have departed, leaving the house in a soft hush, punctuated only by the faint creak of floors, the subtle rustle of garments, and the measured breathing of women who now take a precious pause. This is the time of mid-morning reprieve, an interlude between labor, where the body and spirit are gently nurtured, and quiet rituals restore equilibrium. Women move slowly, deliberately, savoring each gesture as an act of self-care. A cup of herbal tea warms their hands, its steam curling upward and carrying the faint scent of lavender, chamomile, or sage. Fingers brush hair into tidy waves, and garments are adjusted with care, soft fabrics smoothing over tired shoulders. These small rituals are sacred, each movement a meditation in presence and attention, restoring energy that has ebbed through the night and early morning. Quiet moments are shared with subtle warmth. A soft smile exchanged across the room, a whispered word of encouragement, or a fleeting glance of solidarity reminds each woman that she is not alone. The intimacy of shared understanding is unspoken yet deeply felt, reinforcing communal bonds that provide strength, reassurance, and the emotional sustenance needed to navigate both labor and life within the brothel. The house itself participates in this reprieve. Cleaned, organized, and gently illuminated by morning light, the Silver Queen radiates calm. Soft shadows stretch across polished floors, sunlight glinting on brass fixtures, and the scent of fresh linens mingles with herbs lingering from late-night rituals. The space becomes a sanctuary, a vessel of balance, comfort, and quiet restoration, supporting the women as they replenish both body and mind. Physical restoration is methodical. Muscles loosen with slow stretches, shoulders release tension, and hands are massaged or soothed with gentle oils. Each action is deliberate, maintaining alignment, posture, and vitality. The cumulative fatigue of the night and early morning is acknowledged without judgment and mitigated through mindful, restorative practice. Mental reflection accompanies these movements. Thoughts drift gently to the night's challenges, successes, and lessons learned. Achievements, small, quiet, sometimes unseen, are honored internally. Emotional strains are acknowledged, observed, and released, replaced by a gentle sense of gratitude, calm, and renewed focus. These quiet moments cultivate resilience, reaffirm agency, and preserve the subtle balance between empathy, authority, and personal well-being. The women also prepare subtly for the next cycle of labor. Attire is checked, instruments of hygiene and care are arranged, and strategies for client engagement are quietly rehearsed. Even in reprieve, mindfulness guides movement, sustaining the internal rhythm of preparedness and composure. These small acts of foresight are as much about security and professionalism as they are about self-preservation, weaving together awareness, presence, and quiet mastery. As mid-morning unfolds, the Silver Queen resonates with a rhythm that is calm, restorative, and deliberate. The women sip, stretch, reflect, and exchange soft gestures of connection. The house hums with subtle life, a measured, gentle pulse of recovery and preparation. In these hours, the art of sustaining resilience becomes visible in microactions, shared attention, and the quiet assertion of agency within a demanding environment. Here, in soft sunlight and shadowed corners, the interplay of care, reflection, and camaraderie strengthens mind, body, and spirit. Mid-morning reprieve is not idle time. It is deliberate restoration, a meditation in presence, skill, and quiet endurance, ensuring that the women of the Silver Queen emerge renewed, composed, and prepared to continue navigating the rhythms of life within their world. The day unfolds slowly over Virginia City, each hour marked by the rhythm of labor, care, and subtle interaction. Midday clients arrive, and the women of the Silver Queen move with composed energy, balancing attentiveness, empathy, and strategic presence. Each encounter is navigated with practiced subtlety, gestures, tone, and demeanor carefully measured to preserve dignity, control, and mutual respect. Between visits, moments of quiet reprieve continue. Small restorative rituals, sipping tea, adjusting hair, stretching shoulders, or closing eyes briefly, renew energy and maintain emotional equilibrium. Peer support remains subtle yet profound, a network of glances, nods, and whispered acknowledgments that sustain resilience and reinforce communal bonds. Afternoon brings both repetition and reflection. Hygiene, cleanliness, and order are maintained with precision, echoing the practices of the early morning. Women pause to reflect on interactions, their successes and challenges, the lessons learned, and the emotional intelligence exercised. This reflective rhythm reinforces self-awareness, mindfulness, and readiness for the evening hours. As evening approaches, the Silver Queen shifts gently back into the cadence of nocturnal life. Energy is recalibrated, and preparation for the returning clients begins. Subtle rituals of grooming, attire adjustment, and mental rehearsal ensure each woman maintains the balance between empathy and detachment, attentiveness and self-protection. The mastery of emotional labor, honed over countless nights, is deployed once again with quiet authority. Night deepens, and the house hums with vigilance, skill, and endurance. Interactions with clients continue with careful negotiation, attentiveness, and emotional precision. Peer observation, silent signals, and subtle support maintain equilibrium, ensuring safety and composure. Each moment is an exercise in the delicate balance between presence and protective detachment, a quiet dance of intelligence, skill, and resilience. As midnight passes and the final hours arrive, energy is preserved through measured movement, gentle reflection, and small acts of restoration. The women honor the labor of the night, acknowledge their endurance, and prepare for the slow transition toward dawn. The Silver Queen breathes as a unified sanctuary, tidy, calm, and filled with subtle strength. In the final pre-dawn hours, cleaning rituals are performed, spaces are restored, and personal care is attended to. Reflection deepens. The night's interactions, the subtle victories, and the lessons of resilience and empathy are acknowledged. Preparations for the day ahead, though quiet, ensure continuity, composure, and presence. Finally, the sun rises fully over Virginia City. The house bathes in soft, golden light, and the women, refreshed through ritual, reflection, and shared support, stand poised between night and day. The Silver Queen embodies both the labor endured and the skill, intelligence, and resilience required to sustain life within its walls. The story of the Silver Queen is not one of glamour or romance, but of human endurance, quiet mastery, and communal strength. Each woman navigated a complex landscape of labor, emotional intelligence, and personal agency. Their resilience, empathy, and skill leave a legacy, a testament to survival, ingenuity, and the unspoken power of quiet, daily courage. The house falls into calm. Lamps dim, spaces rest, and Virginia City stretches beneath the morning light. The women's work is done for now, but their presence, intelligence, and subtle mastery remain woven into every corner, every polished surface, and every quiet shadow. The Silver Queen, like its women, stands resilient, a sanctuary of endurance, dignity, and human complexity. As the night unfolds in Virginia City, we have journeyed into the hidden, intimate world of the Silver Queen, witnessing the lives of women navigating labor, resilience, and quiet mastery within the walls of a 19th-century Wild West brothel. From the cramped, dimly lit rooms to the delicate rituals of preparation and care, we have seen moments of empathy, reflection, and subtle triumph. Through challenges of illness, social stigma, and relentless labor, these women demonstrated remarkable strength, not through glamour or spectacle, but through endurance, intelligence, and the bonds of community. The Silver Queen was not merely a house of work, it was a sanctuary of vigilance, skill, and quiet agency, where survival, dignity, and human connection intertwined. If this journey into history and human resilience has captured your curiosity, consider leaving a like to support the channel, sharing your thoughts in the comments to keep the conversation alive, and subscribing for more immersive historical stories designed to soothe, intrigue, and inspire. Your engagement helps preserve these forgotten narratives and brings them to light for more viewers to experience. And now, as the soft lamplight of the Silver Queen begins to guide us into the rhythm of night, let us step gently into Scene 1, where our story begins, quietly, thoughtfully, and with every detail unfolding for sleep-time reflection. The dawn creeps slowly over the hills of Virginia City, spilling pale light through the windows, softening the edges of a world carved from timber, dust, and silver. Inside the Silver Queen, the day begins not with urgency, but with a gentle, deliberate rhythm. A rhythm that carries the weight of survival and the quiet insistence of routine. The house stirs, almost imperceptibly at first. A footstep, a sigh, a whispered greeting between women who share both space and secrecy. The rooms are small, each corner bearing marks of repeated occupation, scratches on the floorboards, worn patches of carpet, a curtain that never hangs perfectly straight. Yet within this modest space, an intricate ballet unfolds, choreographed by necessity, by experience, and by the unspoken rules of endurance. Women rise, stretching tired limbs beneath threadbare sheets, rubbing sleep from eyes dulled by long nights, and attend first to the simplest acts of care. A basin of water is drawn, cold at first, then warmed by effort, hands submerged to wash away the residue of yesterday's work, to make peace with the skin that bears both labor and desire. Hair is combed and brushed with methodical patience. Stray strands are tucked into braids or coiled atop the head, secured with pins salvaged from previous days. Powder and rouge are applied in measured amounts, not for vanity, but for necessity. A face carefully made presentable, softened for clients, yet preserved against the rough reality of town gossip, disease, and the judging eye of strangers. Each woman knows the balance between appearance and endurance, between allure and self-preservation. Clothing is inspected, mended, and adjusted. Stockings are sewn at the heel or along frayed seams. Corsets, stiff with bone and fabric, are laced not only to shape, but to hold posture against fatigue. Dresses are smoothed, collars aligned, sleeves straightened. These small acts of preparation take time, but they are essential. They are armor, ritual, and declaration all at once. Every item carries its history. A patch sewn hastily on a quiet night, a hem tightened after a long day, a ribbon folded over with care to cover a tear. These objects are silent witnesses to the women's labor, resilience, and quiet artistry. Hygiene extends beyond the body. Rooms are tidied, floors swept, sheets shaken, and linens folded with care. The air is perfumed with a faint mixture of soap, powder, and the lingering smoke from the previous night. Basins are cleaned, vials of laudanum set aside for later use, and small tinctures or herbal remedies arranged on shelves where they can be reached quickly. Knowledge of health is shared quietly, almost secretively, between women. Who is feeling unwell, what herbs soothe fever, how to care for a cut or a cough, how to reduce the risk of illness in cramped quarters. Breakfast is minimal, often a cup of tea, a slice of bread, or a few scraps of meat or cheese. It is not indulgence, but sustenance, fuel for the body that will soon be called upon to perform, to endure, and to survive. Conversation is soft, measured, filled with whispers of news, reminders of caution, advice on how to deal with clients, and subtle warnings about the streets outside. In this quiet, camaraderie forms naturally. Reliance on one another becomes both safety and solace. Madame Rosie moves among them with practiced vigilance. Her presence is quiet but commanding, a mixture of authority and care. She checks the ledgers, observes the routines, corrects posture, encourages rest, and ensures that no one overexerts or neglects the essentials. She teaches hygiene as much as she teaches strategy, reminding the women that survival depends not only on charm and courage but on cleanliness, preparation, and knowledge of one's own body. Even as the morning light strengthens, the Silver Queen exists in its own temporal bubble, insulated from the chaos of the streets. Outside, miners load wagons, saloon doors swing, and the town hums with the constant movement of commerce and desire. Inside, however, the world is reduced to small, deliberate acts: washing, dressing, mending, and quietly preparing for the day ahead. Each ritual is a thread in the fragile tapestry of survival, connecting body to mind, woman to woman, and each day to the next. As the women complete these morning routines, they prepare mentally as well as physically. There is a quiet centering, a gathering of patience and composure, for soon the doors will open and clients will enter. Strategies are reviewed: who handles which tasks, how to negotiate boundaries, how to manage discomfort, how to preserve health and dignity. These preparations, both tangible and intangible, are essential. They are the difference between a night survived and a night endured with cost. By mid-morning, the house begins to hum with life. The women, now dressed, rested as best as possible, and armed with knowledge and ritual, move to their stations. Rooms are arranged, small comforts placed at hand, mirrors positioned to monitor appearances, and the faintest trace of music begins. Piano keys struck lightly, a humming voice drifting through the halls. The Silver Queen awakens fully, ready to meet the day, to confront the world outside its walls, and to do so with resilience, grace, and the quiet solidarity that has kept it alive for so long. In this slow unfolding of routine, we see the depth of preparation, not only for commerce, not only for appearance, but for life itself. The women of the Silver Queen have mastered a rhythm that blends necessity, artistry, and survival. Every action is deliberate, every gesture infused with meaning, every whispered word a thread in the intricate web that allows them to endure, to connect, and to persevere in a world that offers little in return. As the morning light grows, and the town hums beyond the walls, we breathe with them. We move softly through their rituals, observing not as intruders but as quiet witnesses to a life that is hard, intricate, and profoundly human. In the preparation, in the ritual, in the rhythm of their daily work, we find the first true pulse of the Silver Queen, the pulse of resilience, of survival, and of women quietly mastering the world they were handed, one deliberate step at a time. The afternoon light slants through the curtained windows, pale and soft, painting stripes of gold across the worn floorboards. The town outside pulses with the rhythm of commerce, the clatter of hooves, and the distant hum of the mines, yet inside the Silver Queen, a different rhythm begins to take hold. Doors are checked, curtains adjusted, mirrors polished, and the faintest notes of piano drift through the hallways, delicate and measured, a signal that the house is ready for the day's labor, for the intricate dance that is both livelihood and survival. It begins quietly. A knock at the door, soft, deliberate. Madame Rosie steps forward, her posture a mixture of authority and anticipation. Behind the door waits the first client. A miner perhaps, a man shaped by the dark veins of the earth, his hands cracked, his clothes stiff with dust, his face lined with the exhaustion of labor and the longing of desire. He enters cautiously, aware of the rules he must observe, of the space he is entering, of the women whose eyes study him as intently as he studies the room. The women, poised in quiet readiness, observe and adjust. Every gesture, every blink, every tilt of the head is deliberate. They greet him with a practiced ease, a soft smile, a measured tone, all calibrated to convey welcome, but also to maintain boundaries, control, and safety. Conversation flows lightly, with questions asked and answered in the rhythm of routine, carefully avoiding vulnerability while establishing presence. The psychology of survival is subtle here, practiced, woven into every word, every breath, every glance. The minor relaxes slightly, yet the tension remains, an unspoken acknowledgement that this is a transaction, delicate and controlled. The women are both companions and guardians of their own well-being, balancing the need to please with the imperative to protect. Each movement is a negotiation: where to sit, how to speak, what touch is permitted, and what is withheld. Survival depends on these boundaries, on the quiet assertion of agency in a world that often denies it. The room fills with the soft hum of controlled intimacy, a gentle choreography repeated countless times. Hands are extended, gestures mirrored, and the women's knowledge of human desire becomes a tool, a shield, and a form of artistry. They read expressions, measure hesitation, and respond with skill honed over years of experience. The work is demanding, both physically and emotionally, requiring strength, empathy, and an unyielding awareness of the body and the mind. And yet, beneath the professionalism, there is also subtle tenderness. A whispered word to calm fear, a shared joke to ease tension, a soft gesture of reassurance. These moments, fleeting as they are, anchor the women in their humanity, reminding them that while the world outside may judge or despise, within these walls, they maintain control, they maintain dignity, and they maintain the quiet connections that sustain life. Clients come and go, each with their own story, their own burdens, their own fleeting desires. The women adapt, shifting seamlessly between the roles demanded, maintaining composure, and preserving their strength. They have learned to measure energy, to anticipate reactions, and to respond with precision. Every interaction is an exercise in survival, an application of skill, a demonstration of resilience. In the silence between visits, the house breathes again. The piano softens, footsteps retreat to quieter rooms, and the women steal small moments for themselves. A sip of water, a stretch, a glance out the window at the restless streets. These moments are precious, brief respites that allow them to gather strength for the next performance, the next negotiation, the next delicate exercise of control. The psychology of survival is ever present. Women whisper advice to one another, reminding each other of strategies, of subtle techniques to maintain health and safety, of ways to preserve both body and spirit. There is an unspoken curriculum here, a passing of knowledge from seasoned hands to newer arrivals, a lineage of resilience taught quietly, patiently, and insistently. As the sun dips toward evening, the tempo of the house changes once more. Clients grow fewer but intentions remain clear. The women adjust their posture, their voices soften, their movements become more deliberate, conserving energy for the long night ahead. Preparation and performance, intimacy and defense, negotiation and kindness, all coexist in this delicate equilibrium. Survival here is not just endurance, but the art of reading, reacting, and preserving oneself within a world that offers both risk and reward in equal measure. And as shadows lengthen, folding the walls into soft darkness, the Silver Queen holds its rhythm. The women, having met the first wave of the day's demand, settle briefly into their own thoughts. They think of families far away, of dreams deferred, of money carefully saved, of plans for escape, or of futures quietly imagined beyond these walls. Each mind carries its burdens and its hopes, each body bears the marks of labor and grace. In this delicate balance, life continues, quietly, deliberately, resiliently, and entirely human. Evening settles gently over Virginia City, softening the harsh edges of the town. Outside, the streets echo with distant shouts, the creak of wagons, and the shuffle of boots on dusty boardwalks. Inside the Silver Queen, the house breathes in quieter rhythms, a space of careful preparation, measured steps, and whispered strategies. Here, the women carry with them not just fatigue from labor, but a constant awareness of fragility, vulnerability, and the ever-present threats to body and life. Disease is a silent visitor in these rooms. Venereal illness lurks beneath smiles. Tuberculosis whispers in the cough of a client. Fevers creep through the bodies of those exhausted by long nights and crowded quarters. The women know these threats intimately, having seen them take friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. Survival demands more than charm. It demands knowledge, vigilance, and precise care. In small, hushed gatherings, the women exchange what they have learned, remedies passed down in secret, whispered advice, small rituals for protection and recovery. One teaches another the careful preparation of a soothing herbal wash, using sage or thyme to clean wounds and prevent infection. Another demonstrates the subtle application of powders and ointments to reduce discomfort or inflammation. A vial of laudanum is carefully measured, not just to dull pain, but to maintain composure and mental clarity during long nights. These acts of shared knowledge are sacred, quietly binding the women together in trust and solidarity. Madame Rosie oversees all with steady vigilance. She ensures that hygiene is more than routine, it is a practice of survival. Basins are scrubbed, sheets washed and aired, floors swept, and hands meticulously cleansed before and after each encounter. She teaches that even small lapses can carry consequences, that vigilance in these moments preserves not just health, but livelihood, dignity, and life itself. The women have learned to read symptoms subtly. A flushed face, a feverish hand, a lingering cough. Each sign is noted, remembered, and acted upon. Remedies are improvised when necessary. Poultices, herbal infusions, and careful rest in borrowed corners of quiet rooms. They share strategies for reducing the risk of infection, teaching one another how to navigate intimacy with discretion, boundaries, and attention to safety. Each piece of advice is a thread in a delicate web of protection, a survival network woven silently through years of practice and experience. And yet, there is tenderness even in these pragmatic acts. Hands touch with care, a whispered word reassures, eyes meet with understanding. Knowledge of the body becomes both tool and shield, a language of care that cannot be spoken outside the walls of the Silver Queen. Here, survival is communal as much as it is personal. Every precaution benefits the individual and sustains the collective. The routines of the house reflect this dual purpose. Rooms are sanitized between visits, linens rotated and aired, instruments cleaned, small measures taken to prevent contagion. A woman might whisper to another, "Rest your hand here, rub gently," or "Take this, it will soothe your stomach," gestures of both health and solidarity. Each action is deliberate, measured, precise, the work of survival disguised as the ordinary motions of daily life. As night deepens, the tempo shifts. The evening clients arrive, bringing with them both opportunity and risk. The women employ the wisdom shared among them, applying remedies, maintaining hygiene, and observing boundaries with meticulous care. They are educators and guardians of one another, sustaining a fragile balance between safety and labor, vulnerability and performance. In these quiet, careful movements, one can see the complexity of life inside the Silver Queen. It is not merely a house of commerce or desire. It is a living organism, sustained by knowledge, vigilance, and trust. Each woman participates in its survival, carrying lessons learned from predecessors, teaching lessons to newcomers, and perpetuating a lineage of resilience and careful management of body, mind, and spirit. Even in the dim light, when laughter has faded and footsteps soften to a murmur, the presence of health consciousness is tangible. The women move with purpose, tending to themselves and each other, reinforcing the delicate systems of protection that allow them to continue their work safely. Every basin scrubbed, every powder applied, every whispered instruction is a testament to their intelligence, foresight, and the quiet, unseen labor that keeps the Silver Queen alive. And as the moon rises over the desert hills, spilling its pale glow through curtained windows, the women pause briefly. They breathe, stretching tired bodies, and rest their minds on the knowledge that, though danger is constant, so too is their skill, their vigilance, and the invisible network of care they have built. In this fragile sanctuary, health and survival coexist with labor, intimacy, and quiet camaraderie, forming the heartbeat of life within the Silver Queen, steady, resilient, and enduring. Night falls gently over Virginia City, folding the streets in deep blue shadows and soft silver light. Inside the Silver Queen, The lamps glow faintly, casting warm, flickering halos across worn furniture, curtained windows, and polished wood floors. The day's labor has left its mark: tired limbs, furrowed brows, eyes heavy with the weight of both bodies and emotions. In the quiet that follows, the women turn inward, seeking solace, comfort, and release from the constant tension that accompanies their work. Here, in the soft confines of a corner room or behind a partially closed door, opium and laudanum emerge as companions, not merely indulgences, but tools for coping, for restoring equilibrium, for quieting the storm within. Small vials glint in the lamplight, tiny reservoirs of amber or golden liquid that carry with them both relief and caution. A measured dose, carefully taken, eases aching muscles, quiets anxious minds, and softens the harshness of the day into something more manageable, more bearable. The women know the substance intimately. It is neither friend nor foe, but a delicate instrument, to be handled with care and mindfulness. A spoon of laudanum dissolved in warm tea, a gentle inhalation of opium smoke curling into the lungs, a quiet ritual repeated with reverence. These acts are part of the rhythm of survival. They are moments in which the body exhales tension, the mind drifts softly into imagination, and the world outside the room slows to a manageable pace. In these quiet moments, stories unfold. A woman recounts a memory from her childhood, soft words brushing against the lamp's glow. Another hums a tune, faint and soothing, while fingertips trace patterns on the table. Small laughter bubbles, delicate and hesitant, as one shares a secret joke or a brief tale of triumph over a demanding client. Within this haze of smoke and gentle intoxication, bonds are reinforced. Compassion flows quietly between women, threads of connection strengthened by shared understanding, shared struggle, and shared respite. The opium den of the mind, the inner refuge created with laudanum or smoke, is not escape from life, but a measured retreat into oneself. The body feels lighter, the heart beats slower, the mind drifts to contemplations, reflections, and imaginings that might otherwise be too painful or too distant to grasp. It is here that resilience is renewed, where the strength for the long night ahead is gathered in soft, unhurried breaths, and where the women reclaim a measure of agency over both body and experience. Yet, even in this soft retreat, caution remains. The substances are tools, precise in their effect but dangerous if mishandled. Overindulgence brings exhaustion, confusion, and potential harm. The women teach one another how much to take, when to pause, when to rest. They observe each other, watching for signs of overuse or distress, stepping in gently when guidance or care is needed. Compassion and knowledge weave together with smoke, forming a fragile network of protection as strong as it is invisible. As the night deepens, these rituals blend seamlessly with the ongoing rhythms of the house. The piano hums softly in the background, footsteps echo in distant hallways, and the faintest whispers drift from one room to another. Within this cocoon, the women exist in a liminal space, between labor and rest, between vigilance and surrender, between the outside world and the sanctuary they have constructed. Opium and laudanum are both companions and teachers, guiding them into the subtle balance of relief, awareness, and endurance. Some women choose quiet reflection without the aid of substances, simply breathing slowly, stretching tired limbs, and listening to the gentle heartbeat of the house. Others mix small doses of tinctures or teas, steeping herbs known to calm nerves, relieve aches, or ease the mind. All act with mindfulness, with intention, with a quiet understanding that these moments of self-care, unconventional, hidden, and delicate, are essential to their survival. And as the moon climbs higher, spilling silver across the desert hills, the Silver Queen breathes with them. The women drift into a soft, meditative state, bodies eased, minds softened, yet still alert to the world they inhabit. Dreams emerge gently in these moments, visions of safety, freedom, laughter, and future possibilities beyond the walls of the house. In the delicate interplay of care, substance, and quiet reflection, resilience is quietly reinforced. Here, in this dimly lit refuge, life continues, difficult, measured, yet profoundly human. The rituals of opium, laudanum, and gentle self-care are not indulgences of leisure, but acts of survival, intelligence, and community. They remind us that even in the harshest circumstances, the human spirit seeks balance, comfort, and small sanctuaries of relief. And so, the night stretches on. Smoke curls softly in lamplight. Hands rest lightly on polished surfaces. Eyes close, yet remain watchful. Breath slow. Minds drift. The women of the Silver Queen, resilient and careful, navigate their world with both skill and subtle grace, tending not just to their bodies, but to the intricate, fragile balance of life within the house. Night deepens inside the Silver Queen, soft shadows weaving along walls worn smooth by years of labor and care. The city outside hums faintly, clatter of boots on wooden sidewalks, distant shouts, the occasional creak of wagon wheels. Inside, however, a different world unfolds, one woven from whispers, gentle touches, and the quiet rhythm of shared lives. Here, survival is not only about work, hygiene, or substance. It is about connection, about the subtle alliances that form unseen, delicate yet resilient, within the walls of the house. The women move among each other with practiced care. A hand brushes a strand of hair from a neighbor's face. A quiet word reassures, a glance offers understanding. Laughter, soft and fleeting, escapes in corners, hidden from any prying eyes. In this world, gestures carry weight. A shared secret, a small warning about a client, advice on avoiding illness, each act of communication is an invisible thread, binding one woman to another, strengthening bonds that are both emotional and practical. These alliances are cultivated slowly, with trust measured carefully. Friendships are forged in quiet moments, over a cup of tea in a corner of a dimly lit room, or beside a small stove where the warmth is as much comfort as it is necessity. Conversation drifts between memory and advice, between worry and hope, between survival strategies and small dreams of freedom. Each woman knows that her strength is magnified through solidarity, and that isolation in this environment is dangerous, both physically and emotionally. Conflicts arise, naturally, as in any group confined together under pressure, yet even these are tempered by the underlying recognition of mutual dependence. Disagreements are navigated with tact and patience, compromise found in soft words and gentle negotiations. The women learn not only to survive alongside one another, but to sustain each other, emotionally, physically, and strategically. They offer encouragement when fear arises, a shoulder when grief presses too close, a reminder of purpose when exhaustion threatens to overwhelm. Madame Rosie plays a pivotal role in this intricate social web. Her guidance is quiet but firm, a mix of mentorship, protection, and careful observation. She nurtures the collective strength of the house, mediates disputes, and ensures that trust remains the invisible currency that allows survival. She knows the importance of emotional resilience and teaches it subtly, through example, through encouragement, through gentle insistence that each woman value her own mind as well as her labor. Even in the midst of hardship, moments of tenderness persist. A whispered reassurance before a client enters, a soft touch to steady shaking hands, a knowing smile shared across a room. These small acts, almost imperceptible, are lifelines, subtle affirmations that no one here walks entirely alone. Within these walls, human resilience is cultivated not only through routine and ritual, but through empathy, solidarity, and the quiet, patient weaving of relationships that provide both comfort and protection. Sometimes, late at night, a woman will share her dreams softly with a neighbor, of small businesses waiting beyond these walls, of letters from family long unseen, of a day when freedom will be tangible rather than imagined. Others listen with gentle attention, their own burdens momentarily eased by the act of witnessing hope. In these exchanges, emotional strength is exchanged like currency, flowing from one to another, multiplying with each act of care and understanding. The house itself seems to pulse with this quiet energy. Floors creak with careful steps, laughter murmurs along hallways, the piano hums softly in the background. Even in darkness, the bonds are tangible, unspoken yet undeniable. They are woven through routines, through shared hardships, through knowledge of each other's fears and strengths. Survival is no longer merely an individual endeavor, It is a shared enterprise, a cooperative dance that carries them through every challenge, every client, every long night. And as the moon rises high, casting silver light through curtained windows, the women settle into their quiet spaces. They breathe slowly, minds softened, yet alert to the subtleties of their surroundings. In this balance of care, vigilance, and quiet companionship, the Silver Queen sustains life, fosters resilience, and nurtures human connection in ways the outside world will never see. It is here, in the hushed intimacy of whispered alliances and shared endurance, that the deepest strength of the house resides. A strength built on trust, empathy, and the indomitable will to survive together. Night lingers softly over Virginia City, drawing long shadows across the streets and alleyways beyond the Silver Queen. Inside, the house hums with quiet energy, a sanctuary of both labor and learning, of survival and subtle aspiration. Amid the routines, hygiene, and careful performances of the day, another rhythm exists, the rhythm of coins counted, ledgers kept, and dreams carefully nurtured beyond the walls. Money here is more than currency. It is autonomy, it is leverage, it is the lifeline between constraint and possibility. Each coin earned carries weight far beyond its material value. It represents freedom, choice, and the ability to plan a life untethered from the harsh realities of the streets. The women handle it with meticulous care. Small leather purses are emptied into hidden compartments, coins counted and notes recorded with a precision born of necessity. Every transaction is an exercise in foresight, in preparation, in safeguarding what is theirs. Madame Rosie oversees the flow of earnings with keen attention. Ledgers line the shelves, pages marked with careful handwriting that tracks each client, each service, each expense, and each saved coin. Payments for linens, food, cleaning supplies, and medicine are carefully balanced against savings, tucked away for dreams that stretch beyond the present moment. This is more than bookkeeping. It is a quiet assertion of control in a world that often denies it, a strategic act that empowers the women even as they labor within constraints imposed by society. Discussions of financial planning happen in whispered corners. One woman might advise another to save a portion of her earnings for a dress shop, a small home, or a venture far from the shadows of the Silver Queen. Another speaks softly of millinery, tailoring, or even a boarding house, enterprises that could transform coin into freedom. Dreams are shared cautiously, yet with conviction, as each plan becomes a tether to hope, a framework for future independence, and a reminder that survival is both temporal and aspirational. The process is deliberate. Money is not spent impulsively. Small sacrifices, careful budgeting, and patient restraint define daily life. A coin might be set aside instead of spent on fleeting comfort, another saved for medical needs, another hidden for a future escape. Each act of fiscal discipline reinforces autonomy, strengthens resolve, and maintains the possibility of a life beyond the brothel. Here, financial knowledge is as critical as hygiene or self-protection, a tool as essential as any whispered warning or tincture for illness. Within these walls, women quietly learn and teach each other the arts of negotiation, investment, and prudence. Advice flows naturally. How to request payment without offense, how to protect money from theft or coercion, how to leverage resources to maintain safety and comfort. Each piece of shared wisdom is layered with strategy, history, and lived experience, an invisible curriculum that strengthens both individual and collective resilience. As the night deepens and the first clients of the evening arrive, these lessons are put into practice. Boundaries are enforced, payments handled discreetly, opportunities weighed, and decisions made with foresight. Survival is intertwined with prudence. Labor is intertwined with planning. Every smile, every gesture, every whispered negotiation carries within it the weight of agency, the seed of independence, and the promise of a life yet to be claimed. In moments of quiet, women reflect on what their money represents. Coins and notes become symbols of potential. A roof, a safe room, a chance to leave, a chance to build. They imagine ventures that extend beyond the walls. A shop filled with dresses or hats. A small home in a town where their work is past and their autonomy begins. These are dreams nurtured delicately, whispered only to those who understand, preserved like fragile treasures against the uncertainties of life. And as the moon rises high, spilling its silver light through curtained windows, the Silver Queen pulses with quiet possibility. Here, in the dim glow, the women balance survival with ambition, labor with foresight, and hardship with careful hope. Money is more than coin. It is resilience, it is freedom, it is the quiet assertion of self in a world determined to deny it. Within these soft, measured moments, one sees clearly the essence of independence. The meticulous planning, the careful saving, the whispered dreams of escape, the courage to imagine life beyond these walls. It is here, in the quiet economy of the Silver Queen, that financial acumen and personal resilience intertwine, giving each woman a thread of agency, a glimmer of hope, and a foothold toward a future she alone can shape. Twilight drapes the town of Virginia City in a muted glow, softening the wooden streets and the distant clamor of wagons, saloons, and miners returning from the hills. Inside the Silver Queen, the house shifts in tempo, moving from the gentle rhythms of day into the measured cadence of night. Shadows lengthen across worn floors, curtained windows catch the last light, and a quiet anticipation settles over the rooms, the anticipation of labor, of endurance, and of survival. The women of the house begin their evening rituals with deliberate care. Faces are washed once more to remove dust, fatigue, and any remnants of the day. Hair is adjusted, carefully coiled or braided, with each strand attended to as though it carries both charm and protection. Clothing is checked, seams repaired, corsets tightened, and small adornments aligned, all with precision and mindfulness. These acts are not vanity, they are armor, preparation, and affirmation, a quiet declaration that each woman enters the night with both dignity and control. Beneath the surface of physical readiness, mental preparation unfolds. The women gather in small clusters or quiet corners, breathing slowly, grounding themselves. Some close their eyes and visualize the night ahead, anticipating interactions, rehearsing boundaries, and imagining the steps they will take to maintain composure and safety. Others speak softly to one another, sharing reminders, encouragements, and strategies, reinforcing the invisible network of support that carries them through hours of labor. Madame Rosie oversees this ritual with calm authority. She checks the rooms, ensuring everything is in order, that basins are filled, linens prepared, and medicines at hand. But she also tends to the women's emotional and mental states, offering a soft word, a guiding hand, or a quiet nod of reassurance. She knows that preparation is as much psychological as it is physical, that the mind must be steady and alert, even as the body is ready to meet the demands of the night. Each woman's preparation is deeply personal, a rhythm cultivated through experience and necessity. Some light candles or lamps to create a warm, steady glow. Some take a moment to inhale the faint scent of herbal tinctures or powders. Some silently repeat mantras of resilience and patience. These rituals are subtle, almost invisible, yet they anchor the spirit and steady the hand. They remind the women of their strength, their intelligence, and their capacity to navigate the evening with skill and composure. The rooms hum with quiet energy. Footsteps move softly along the hallways, whispers drift like currents through corners, and the faintest music, a piano, a soft hum, provides rhythm and calm. Each movement is deliberate, each gesture measured, a preparation for the interactions to come. The women are poised, alert, and aware of the fragile balance they must maintain, offering companionship and intimacy while preserving autonomy, health, and dignity. Even as the first clients approach, the rituals continue. Eyes meet briefly across rooms, nods convey readiness and solidarity, and small reminders echo in whispers. Maintain boundaries, remain attentive, conserve energy, and trust in your knowledge and instincts. The night is a landscape of negotiation, endurance, and careful observation, and preparation, both inner and outer, is the first and most essential defense. In these quiet moments, one sees the artistry of survival. The physical, emotional, and mental preparation of the women intertwines seamlessly, creating a rhythm that carries them through the challenges ahead. It is a rhythm born of experience, strengthened by trust, and sustained by a profound awareness of the delicate balance between labor, safety, and autonomy. And as darkness deepens, filling the rooms with shadowed calm, the Silver Queen holds its breath in anticipation. The women stand ready, grounded in routine and ritual, their minds alert, their bodies prepared, their spirits steady. The night will demand courage, skill, and resilience, but these evening rituals have equipped them to meet it, with grace, with intelligence, and with the quiet strength that has carried them through countless nights before. Night fully envelopes Virginia City, draping its streets in deep indigo and silver streaks of moonlight. Outside, the distant clatter of horses and wagons echoes faintly, mingling with occasional shouts from the saloons and the rhythmic hammering of the mines. Inside the Silver Queen, the house transforms into a stage of delicate negotiation, subtle choreography, and quiet power. The first clients of the evening arrive, and with them comes the complex interplay of fear, desire, and the assertion of control, both theirs and the women's. Doors open softly, and the first men step into the warm glow of the lamps, faces lined with the fatigue of labor, yet carrying a restless hunger. Their eyes scan the rooms, taking in the women poised in readiness, the polished surfaces, the clean linens, the faint perfume of herbs and subtle fragrances lingering in the air. There is expectation, unspoken rules, and a fragile rhythm that must be observed. Each client brings with him not just payment, but unpredictability, a variable in a system the women have mastered through careful experience. The women greet them with skillful ease. Smiles are measured, voices soft yet confident, gestures precise. Conversation begins lightly, questions exchanged in tones that convey warmth without vulnerability. Each word, each glance, each subtle shift in posture is part of a complex negotiation, of trust, of boundaries, and of control. The women read the client's expressions, noting tension, hesitation, or eagerness, adjusting their own demeanor to guide interactions safely and effectively. Fear is always present, a silent companion. The women remain alert, attuned to the smallest changes in mood or behavior. Every movement is intentional, every touch deliberate. Yet within this vigilance, they find ways to modulate intimacy, offering comfort or reassurance, soft words or gentle gestures, all designed to maintain balance, to protect both body and spirit. It is a delicate act, meeting desire while asserting agency, preserving safety while honoring the transactional nature of the encounter. Clients themselves arrive with their own vulnerabilities, their own anxieties. Many are exhausted from labor, aching from the earth's relentless demands, seeking solace in fleeting connection. The women, understanding this, offer measured compassion alongside controlled intimacy. They guide, they soothe, they respond with intelligence born of experience, shaping the encounter so that both parties navigate desire and expectation with care. Madame Rosie observes quietly, a steady presence ensuring that the rhythm of the house remains consistent, that boundaries are respected, and that the subtle currents of power are maintained. Her guidance is silent yet palpable. A nod, a glance, a soft instruction to a newer woman, ensuring that each interaction is conducted safely, professionally, and with the dignity that the house demands. In these early hours, the Silver Queen hums with quiet energy. Footsteps are careful, voices softened, and movements deliberate. Even as intimacy unfolds, every gesture is measured, every word chosen to maintain equilibrium. The women navigate the tension between empathy and defense, connection and detachment, desire and survival, creating a controlled environment where their expertise ensures both safety and effectiveness. Between encounters, the rooms breathe again. The women pause, adjusting hair, wiping hands, straightening clothing, and exchanging whispered observations. Knowledge is shared silently, a caution about a client's temperament, a reminder of a new technique, a note about timing. Each exchange reinforces the network of support, vigilance, and strategy that sustains the house through the night. By the time the moon reaches its zenith, the first wave of clients has passed. The women, while physically and emotionally taxed, remain poised, resilient, and alert. They have navigated desire and fear, asserted control, and upheld the delicate balance that defines life within the Silver Queen. These initial encounters set the tone for the night, a rhythm of intelligence, vigilance, and quiet mastery over circumstances both predictable and unpredictable. In this meditative space, one can perceive the profound skill involved in survival. It is not simply labor, it is artistry, a choreography of gesture, gaze, and voice, guided by intuition, experience, and careful calculation. Here, in the dim lamplight, the Silver Queen thrives as a sanctuary of both commerce and subtle empowerment, a place where fear is managed, desire is honored, and control is reclaimed by those who know how to wield it wisely. The night deepens inside Virginia City, streets cloaked in shadow, the distant clatter of wagons and muffled laughter drifting faintly from saloons. Within the Silver Queen, the atmosphere is both warm and tense, a delicate balance between comfort and vigilance. The first clients have come and gone, leaving behind quiet rooms and a soft pulse of anticipation, for the night's complexity has only begun. The women know instinctively that the true measure of skill lies not just in charm, but in the management of the unexpected, the difficult client, the one whose temperament tests the boundaries of safety, patience, and authority. These encounters demand more than performance. They demand attentiveness, intuition, and subtle mastery of power. A client may enter with impatience, anger, or fatigue sharpened into brusqueness. Eyes that glance too quickly, hands that linger too long, or words that push at unspoken limits must be met with both poise and strategy. The women rely on a choreography developed over countless nights, a sequence of gestures, glances, and soft words designed to assert boundaries without confrontation, to de-escalate tension, and to preserve control. Madame Rosie's presence is an anchor. She moves through the rooms almost invisibly, yet her authority is felt in the posture of the women, in the measured tone of their voices, in the calm confidence with which they navigate difficult moments. A nod, a whispered instruction, or a subtle repositioning conveys guidance. Safety is enforced not with overt force, but through the command of space, voice, and knowledge. The house itself becomes a stage for careful negotiation, where the unseen rules of conduct govern behavior and maintain equilibrium. The women themselves act with quiet decisiveness. Hands remain steady, eyes meet lightly yet firmly, and words are chosen with precision. A difficult client may challenge patience or attempt to test limits, but the women respond with skillful restraint, redirecting attention, offering controlled gestures of comfort, and using tone, rhythm, and posture to maintain authority. Every interaction is an exercise in subtle power, where control is asserted without aggression, and where empathy and vigilance coexist in perfect tension. Between encounters, small rituals reinforce resilience. A deep breath, a moment of stretching, a whispered conversation about the client's behavior, or a shared glance of reassurance, these quiet acts restore composure and maintain readiness. Knowledge of human nature, accumulated over years, guides every decision. When to speak softly, when to maintain distance, when to redirect, when to observe. Experience sharpens instincts, transforming them into a lifeline of both protection and professionalism. Health and safety remain inseparable from power. Boundaries are enforced to protect the body and mind, with hygiene, discreet observation, and subtle interventions employed constantly. Small signals, a hand lightly touching a wrist, a whispered caution, maintain safety while preserving the delicate atmosphere necessary for both business and survival. Emotional intelligence becomes as vital as physical skill, enabling the women to navigate volatile situations with grace and authority. Even in the face of tension, the women exhibit remarkable composure. Their ability to read, anticipate, and adapt ensures that power remains in their hands. Difficult clients are managed not through confrontation alone, but through the intricate dance of control, suggestion, and psychological awareness. This subtle mastery is a form of artistry, cultivated through experience, patience, and the shared wisdom of the house. As the night stretches on, the Silver Queen pulses with quiet resilience. Difficult encounters fade into memory, leaving lessons, strengthened alliances, and reinforced boundaries. The women stand ready, alert, and grounded, carrying both the experience of challenge and the knowledge that they hold subtle authority over their surroundings. In these moments, one perceives the full depth of their skill, the balance of empathy and control, vigilance and adaptability, fear managed and dignity preserved. Here, in the dim lamplight and soft hush of midnight, the Silver Queen thrives as a sanctuary not only of commerce but of empowerment. Difficult clients test the strength of the women, yet it is their intelligence, intuition, and subtle command that maintains order, preserves safety, and upholds the fragile equilibrium that allows life, labor, and resilience to coexist within these walls. The night drifts deeper over Virginia City, its streets hushed, save for the distant echo of wagon wheels and the occasional creak of boards beneath solitary footsteps. Inside the Silver Queen, the lamplight casts gentle golden pools across polished floors, curtained windows, and worn furniture. The rhythm of the evening unfolds steadily, yet beneath the surface of charm, conversation, and labor lies a constant undercurrent: awareness of the fragility of health, the vigilance against disease, and the quiet care extended between women who share both space and destiny. In the dim corridors and private rooms, attention to hygiene is meticulous. Hands are washed repeatedly, cloths soaked in warm water and vinegar sweep surfaces, and linens are rotated and aired to minimize contamination. Each measure is purposeful, each action deliberate. Small defenses against the invisible threats that accompany intimacy, labor, and crowded quarters. These are not mere routines, they are acts of survival, quietly binding the women together in the unspoken covenant of mutual protection. Venereal disease, tuberculosis, and fevers are constant concerns. The women have learned to observe subtle signs: flushed skin, persistent coughs, or the telltale signs of infection. Knowledge is shared in whispers, remedies, cautions, and strategies passed from one woman to another. A tincture here, a poultice there, and soft reminders of boundaries form a network of defense woven through experience and shared wisdom. It is through this collective vigilance that the house maintains resilience against forces that would otherwise weaken or devastate its occupants. Peer care is as much emotional as it is physical. A woman notices fatigue or pallor in another and quietly offers rest, herbal infusions, or a warm cloth. Subtle gestures, a hand gently placed on a shoulder, a whispered word of encouragement, a reminder to drink tea or rinse carefully, convey both protection and empathy. These acts of care, small but consistent, ensure that no one bears the burden of health alone. The Silver Queen is not merely a house of commerce. It is a sanctuary of knowledge, vigilance, and quiet solidarity. Even during client interactions, the women integrate preventive measures seamlessly. Cleanliness is maintained between encounters, surfaces wiped, linens shifted, and hands cleansed with deliberate care. Instruments, small tools, and implements are sterilized or stored carefully. Boundaries are enforced, subtle but firm, to minimize exposure to both physical and emotional harm. Every precaution, every observation, every whispered caution forms part of a complex system that safeguards both individual and collective well-being. Madame Rosie guides this culture of care with steady authority. She instructs, observes, and corrects with discretion, ensuring that each woman understands not only her own responsibilities but also the shared obligations of safety and health. Her vigilance extends beyond protocol. She teaches anticipation, recognition, and response, cultivating a culture where awareness and prevention become instinct and peer support becomes second nature. Through the night, this attention to health becomes ritual. Women pause between labor, checking for signs of fatigue, exchanging knowledge about symptoms, sharing herbal remedies, and reminding each other of practices that preserve safety. In these quiet interludes, the intimacy of care is visible: hands that soothe, words that guide, eyes that observe, and instincts sharpened by shared experience. This vigilance transforms ordinary spaces into protective sanctuaries, allowing labor and resilience to coexist. As the hours pass, one can perceive the balance achieved within these walls. The Silver Queen thrives not despite danger, but because its occupants understand it. Through hygiene, observation, peer care, and practical knowledge, they transform vulnerability into control, risk into preparation, and labor into an exercise of careful intelligence. It is a quiet mastery of survival, grounded in the human capacity for attention, empathy, and collective responsibility. By midnight, the rhythms of vigilance have intertwined seamlessly with those of work and companionship. Disease awareness is not a burden but a practiced art, a daily meditation on survival, health, and mutual care. In the dim glow of lamps and the hush of shadowed corridors, the women of the Silver Queen maintain both their safety and their humanity, demonstrating the profound resilience that comes from knowledge, empathy, and unwavering attention to one another's well-being. The city outside Virginia City sleeps beneath a quilt of silver moonlight, the streets empty, still, and softly echoing distant sounds carried from the hills. Inside the Silver Queen, the house breathes with a gentler rhythm. Lamps flicker softly against walls and furniture worn smooth by years of labor and care. The night has reached its midpoint, and the first wave of activity has waned. It is here, in the quiet lull between encounters, that the women retreat inward, into thought, into reflection, into dreams whispered softly to themselves and occasionally shared with trusted companions. Each woman inhabits her own inner space. Some sit by the window, gazing out at the sliver of moon over the desert hills, letting their minds drift like clouds across the night sky. Others settle into quiet corners, cradling warm tea or herbal infusions, their bodies weary but their minds alert, tracing patterns of hope, longing, and memory. In these moments, the exterior demands of labor fade, replaced by introspection, self-assessment, and contemplation of the paths that have brought them here and those that might carry them beyond these walls. Thoughts wander freely. Memories of childhood, of distant families, of towns left behind, flicker through the mind like soft candlelight. Regrets and triumphs mingle in quiet harmony, acknowledging both the harshness of the past and the resilience it has cultivated. Some women imagine small freedoms, modest ventures, lives in which their agency is absolute and choices unencumbered. Others replay daily interactions, considering lessons learned, strategies that succeeded or failed, and the subtle ways they navigated danger and maintained dignity. These reflections are never solitary. Whispers drift across rooms, carried gently through shadowed hallways. A soft word of reassurance, a shared joke, a quiet expression of understanding. Each connection reinforces bonds, offering comfort and shared strength. Even in isolation, women feel tethered to one another through empathy, mutual respect, and shared experience. The Silver Queen, in these hours, becomes not merely a house, but a living repository of wisdom, vigilance, and emotional endurance. Aspirations are nurtured delicately. Dreams of financial independence, of small businesses, of rooms filled with personal objects and safety, surface like gentle ripples on a calm lake. Some women imagine a millinery shop, others a dress boutique, or even a quiet home far from the ceaseless demands of labor. These visions, though tentative, are cherished, a mental refuge and a motivating thread that carries them through the night, sustaining hope and providing direction beyond the immediate trials of survival. In parallel, personal rituals continue to restore balance. Hands smooth over hair, eyes close in silent meditation, and breaths lengthen in measured cadence. A quiet song might rise from a corner, hummed softly, infusing the room with warmth and gentle rhythm. The body relaxes as the mind wanders, each thought carefully weighed, each aspiration cherished, each memory acknowledged. In these hours, introspection becomes both healing and preparation, strengthening resilience for the labor yet to come. Even the silence carries meaning. The hush of the rooms, punctuated by occasional creaks of boards or faint whispers of other women, cultivates a sense of continuity, stability, and presence. Here, solitude is shared, reflection is communal, and aspirations take root amid the soft hum of life in the Silver Queen. The night fosters a unique intimacy, one that exists not in physical touch but in shared awareness, unspoken understanding, and quiet acknowledgement of each individual's inner world. As midnight stretches toward the later hours, the women emerge from these reflections renewed. Thoughts, memories, and dreams have intertwined with the physical and emotional labor of the house, fortifying both mind and spirit. The Silver Queen, glowing softly in lamplight, pulses with the quiet strength of these reflections, a rhythm of hope, endurance, and the persistent assertion of self within the structured, challenging, and delicate world of the brothel. Here, in the liminal space between night and early morning, introspection and aspiration coexist with vigilance and labor, creating a tapestry of resilience, intelligence, and quiet courage. It is in these moments, suspended in shadow and light, that the women cultivate not just survival, but the enduring sense of agency, hope, and the possibility of lives yet imagined and gently pursued. The night inside the Silver Queen has settled into a rhythm, a quiet pulse felt in every corner of the house. Outside, Virginia City sleeps, the streets empty except for the occasional sound of distant wagons or a lone horse's hoofbeat echoing against wooden sidewalks. Inside, however, life flows in its own cadence, a tapestry of whispers, footsteps, laughter, and shared confidences that intertwine with the labor of the night. Amid the demands of clients and the routines of preparation, moments of respite emerge, small, tender interludes where the women come together to release tension, exchange stories, and cultivate camaraderie. In these spaces, guarded walls soften, and laughter rises quietly like warm incense, filling corners and shadows with a fleeting sense of freedom. It is in these moments that the human spirit reasserts itself, reminding all present that resilience is not only endurance, but also connection and joy. Stories are shared softly, a whisper of childhood memories, a recollection of distant homes, a humorous anecdote about a client, or a tale of past misadventures. Each story is received with gentle attention, nods, and subtle smiles, a delicate affirmation that these lives, often stigmatized and marginalized, are rich with experience, wit, and intelligence. Laughter, restrained yet genuine, ripples through the rooms, momentarily lifting burdens, softening fatigue, and nurturing bonds forged through shared understanding. This camaraderie is not merely entertainment, it is sustenance for the spirit. Through shared narratives, the women exchange wisdom about negotiation, safety, and resilience. Humor becomes a tool of psychological resilience, a way to process fear, frustration, and exhaustion. In each chuckle, each knowing glance, each empathetic smile, they reaffirm the invisible support network that sustains them through both labor and adversity. In corners and alcoves, quieter exchanges unfold. A gentle hand rests briefly on a trembling shoulder. A whispered encouragement reassures and strengthens resolve. These gestures, though small, carry immense significance, affirming that no one endures the night entirely alone. Emotional release, carefully calibrated and mutually recognized, allows the women to confront the psychological toll of their labor, softening tension and restoring balance before the next wave of clients arrives. Madame Rosie observes these interactions with a mixture of pride and attentiveness. She recognizes that humor, shared stories, and the gentle intimacy of camaraderie are as essential to survival as hygiene, vigilance, or financial management. She encourages subtle expressions of joy, ensuring that the house remains not only a place of labor but also a sanctuary of psychological resilience, where bonds strengthen the collective spirit and reinforce individual agency. Between clients, laughter and storytelling create a rhythm that contrasts with the intensity of work. They remind the women of their ingenuity, wit, and capacity to maintain grace under pressure. They offer a momentary reprieve from fear, pain, and exhaustion, a space in which humanity can flourish even amid the most challenging circumstances. These shared experiences cultivate trust, solidarity, and mutual understanding, the invisible threads that bind the women together and sustain the Silver Queen through countless nights. Even as labor resumes, the echoes of these moments persist. A soft smile, a brief glance, a silent nod, each carries the memory of laughter and shared stories, a subtle reassurance that bonds endure and resilience is communal. The night, though demanding, is tempered by these interludes of emotional connection, reminding all present that within the walls of the Silver Queen, survival is intertwined with empathy, humor, and the delicate artistry of human companionship. By the late hours, the house breathes as one. Footsteps soften, voices lower, laughter becomes murmured echoes. Yet the energy of camaraderie lingers, quietly reinforcing the strength, intelligence, and enduring spirit of the women who inhabit this space. Here, amid shadows, whispers, and lamplight, resilience is nurtured not only through discipline and vigilance, but also through the warmth of shared stories, the comfort of laughter, and the enduring bonds of sisterhood forged in the quiet heart of the night. And so, tonight we drift backward in time, to a place and a people often blurred by myth and softened by memory. In the 1870s, in the high desert of Nevada, Virginia City rose out of dust and silver. A boom town alive with promise, swollen with wealth, yet stained with hardship. At its heart stood the Silver Queen Brothel, a house not of glamour but of survival, where women endured cramped rooms, constant danger, and relentless stigma. They lived between shadows and lamplight, laughed between coughs of sickness, and dreamed beyond the walls that confined them. This is not the story of romance from painted saloon doors. It is the deeper, human story of resilience and quiet endurance on the edge of a restless frontier. If you find rest and calm in these gentle journeys, I invite you to like this video, share your reflections in the comments, and subscribe, so that these quiet echoes of history may continue to accompany your nights. Now let us begin. Close your eyes, settle into stillness, and allow the dust of Nevada to rise before your imagination. Scene 1. The road stretches long and empty, a thin scar of earth winding across the high desert plateau. The wheels of a stagecoach groan as they roll, iron rims biting into gravel, wooden axles creaking like tired bones. Horses snort and toss their manes, their flanks streaked with foam, pulling against the traces as they labor up the incline toward town. In the distance, mountains loom, jagged silhouettes of stone against the fading sun. The air is thin here, sharp, carrying with it the mingled sense of sagebrush and dust. And then, suddenly, Virginia City appears. Not with grandeur, not with the gentle approach of some pastoral village, but with the abruptness of a mirage. Wooden structures line steep streets, clinging to the mountainside like weather-worn teeth. Roofs glint with tin. Smoke curls from chimneys, bending sideways in the wind. Lanterns flicker in windows, announcing themselves before nightfall. This is no sleepy settlement. This is a town alive, restless, booming, growing faster than it can hold. The clatter of hooves grows louder. The shouts of men echo through narrow lanes. Wagons rattle. Dogs bark. A miner, his shirt dark with sweat and dust, trudges past, pickaxe slung across his shoulder. His eyes are rimmed red from the strain of underground air. Behind him, a gambler in a dark coat adjusts his hat and steps lightly toward a saloon, coins clinking in his pocket. The town smells of coal smoke and spilled whiskey, of horse dung and fresh pine lumber, of bodies pressed too close together in a place built for profit, not for comfort. Virginia City in the 1870s is a paradox, a boom town of silver, wealth flowing in torrents beneath the earth, and yet above ground, lives worn thin by hardship. Men chase fortune in mines that suffocate lungs and snap bones. Merchants tally profits with trembling hands. Newspapers speak of opportunity, while in the back alleys hunger gnaws at the unlucky. And here, among this fever of fortune and despair, the women of the brothels carve out their own uneasy survival. Stand still with me for a moment on the wooden boardwalk of C Street, the town's pulsing artery. Listen. A piano tumbles through a jaunty tune inside the Bucket of Blood saloon, its notes slightly out of tune but determined to be merry. Laughter erupts, followed by the slam of a fist on a table. Coins scatter. Somewhere, a voice rises in anger, then falls into sudden silence. Across the street, a child runs barefoot, clutching a crust of bread, his mother calling after him with tired lungs. A dog slinks between barrels, searching for scraps. Above all of it, the wind sings its dry, endless song. And then, a building. Modest, almost quiet in comparison to the rowdy saloons. Its wooden face painted once in bright color, now dulled and peeling from sun and rain. Curtains hang thick and red behind its windows, shielding the interior from curious eyes. There is no sign above its door, no need. Everyone in town knows what lies within. This is the Silver Queen. Step closer. The lamps are already lit inside. Behind the curtained glass, shadows pass. The outline of a woman adjusting her dress, the flicker of a hand brushing powder across a cheek. From within, faint music drifts, softer than the saloon tunes, more delicate, almost hesitant. A laugh escapes, brittle at the edges. A man enters, boots heavy against the floorboards, greeted not with glamour but with practiced welcome. For a moment, pause outside the door. Feel the wood beneath your hand, worn smooth by countless knocks. Smell the perfume that lingers faintly in the air, mixed with smoke and whiskey. Hear the creak of floorboards beneath shifting weight. Inside this place, 6 women share 3 beds. They trade not only their bodies, but also their strength, their humor, their whispered remedies against sickness, their fragile dreams of a future beyond these walls. They are not heroines of legend, nor villains of scandal, but women of flesh and breath, caught between survival and longing. As night falls over Virginia City, lamps burn brighter. The streets swell with voices. And within the Silver Queen, the story begins to unfold. Not the story of painted cards and easy laughter, but the story of endurance, of women who lived in shadowed rooms, who bore the weight of others' desires, who stitched together small communities of resilience against a world that turned its back. Here begins their tale. A tale of dust and silver, of laughter and tears, of stigma and strength. The doors open, the lamps flicker, and we step inside. Drift now as the camera sinks deeper into the city's underbelly. London in the mid-19th century breathes a different kind of night. The polished world of parlors and gaslit theaters fades away, and in its shadows, a quieter, darker kingdom grows. It is a kingdom of smoke, of ash, of narrow alleys glistening with rain, where men and women seek comfort not in bread or warmth, but in the strange embrace of a powdered dream. Here, in dim basements and rented rooms, opium pipes glow like tiny beacons. The smoke curls upward, delicate, pale, like wandering ghosts. It hangs in the air, dense and still, wrapping sleepers in velvet cocoons of forgetfulness. The people who come here, they are not all the same. Some wear the rough coats of dockworkers, hands cracked and worn from lifting barrels on the Thames. Others still carry the perfume of wealth. Gentlemen in silk cravats, their boots polished to a shine, slipping into places where no one of their rank dares admit to go. And there are women too, maids with tired eyes, widows with trembling hands, and the painted faces of streetwalkers, who offer company only to later fade into their own dreams. Opium, in its slow embrace, blurs the sharp edges of their lives. Hunger dulls. Cold disappears. Grief softens to a memory that no longer cuts. The world itself becomes a mirage, a softened vision of lantern light and floating music, until waking feels less real than the dream. But beneath this softness, beneath the velvet fog, there is also decay. For every pipe that glows, another heart grows weaker, another mind begins to falter, another child waits in a dark room for a mother who will never return. London at this hour is both cradle and coffin, a city that feeds itself on the very dreams it conjures. And as the smoke thickens, so too does the weight of silence, the silence of lives slipping quietly into shadows that history will barely remember.